Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. We have a special guest speaker, Alex Borress from Guardian Life, and this event is also co-hosted with OAS, Organization of Actuarial Students. So thank you to OAS for advertising this event to their members as well. And I'm just gonna turn it over to Alex to introduce himself.
All right, thanks, Vivian. My name is Alex Borress. I'm an actuary at Guardian Life Insurance and a graduate of Stony Brook, class of 2004. And I was actually the second president of OAS all the way back then. And I was good friends with the founder of it. So it's really nice to see that organization is still going. Pleasure to be here tonight to talk about the actuarial profession and help answer your questions. So Vivian, you sent me a list of questions that were already submitted. Do you want me to just jump into those, or how did you want to go about the session?
Yeah, sure. We can start with the questions on the list, and I can ask you the questions.
Okay.
So,
yeah. I think I was wondering maybe if you could start with the bottom section, which started with what is an actuary?
Okay, yeah.
And then we go back to the top. I figure talk about the profession first and then how to get into it.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so could you please tell us what exactly an actuary is?
Sure. So I think in the least number of words, I would say it's a professional who quantifies and manages risk. So clearly that has applications to the insurance industry, and most actuaries work in insurance. So I work in life insurance, so you could think of it as we sell policies every day where there's a risk. Someone buys $1 million policy and were to die the next day. Like that's a big risk. We're collecting very little premium and paying out a big claim. As actuaries, okay, how do we get comfortable taking on that risk? And clearly, law of large numbers. We sell enough policies. We could feel pretty confident in what type of claims experience we're going to get. So I know I said that was definition in the least number of words, but I kind of went over there. But that's how I would think about it.
Yeah, thank you. Can you describe what you would do to become like a fully qualified actuary?
Oh, yeah, so the big distinction is there's a bunch of exams you'll need to pass. So back when I was taking the exams, there were 8. I'm not sure what the number is now. But basically, once you get through all the exams, you attain your fellowship in the Society of Actuaries. And really at that point, there's like things you can sign on behalf of the company for. And overall, there's more career opportunities once you get past those exams.
Yeah, great. Could you also go over like what your day-to-day is like as an actuary and maybe how your role has changed from like entry level to like your position now?
Sure. When I started, as an intern at Guardian back in summer of 2003, and then returned full time. And so it's the only real job I've ever had. And just over the years, taking on progressively more responsibility. So early on, kind of just learning a lot, and really a big focus is on passing the exams. So the company provides study time. And I'd say for the most part, early on, you're the one doing the work, whether it's like running models or putting exhibits together, and just generally learning. And then throughout your career, it's going to grow into also like reviewing the work and getting a better feel for whether, how to tell if it's correct or not. And, at this point in my career, yeah, I have a team of 11 actuaries. And so for the most part, I'm kind of setting the strategy for the team on what major projects are going to be. I'm still doing a lot of, work myself, whether it be in Excel or otherwise, and reviewing work. But I'd say at this point, I'm mostly just advising my team on how to approach their projects. And so to give you a little more specifics on the course of my career, so yeah, started off as an actuarial student and went through the exam process. And once I got my FSA, shortly after, had an actuarial student work for me. So that was my first management experience. And over time, one student turned into two. I early on, most of my career was in the pricing area. So whenever Guardian comes out with a new life insurance product, I'd work on actually developing like what the premium rates are and various other rates with the product. Then had an opportunity to work in a different area involving dividends. So the main product we sell is called Whole Life, and it can generate dividends where the policyholder is paying a level premium every year, but we set that premium pretty conservatively. And then over time, as our experience emerges, we may be able to pay them back a dividend. So I was working in the area that determines what those dividends would be for each policyholder. And then eventually went back to pricing. And I think combination of just having more experience and getting that like cross training in another area set me up to eventually lead the life pricing team. So that was kind of a big step in my career. But from there, just more opportunities came forward. The person who had trained me on dividends retired, so then I took over his responsibility. So then I had that plus pricing, and then just recently I got responsibility for annuity pricing as well. So yeah, kind of a very steady progression, which worked out well. I think if it was a bunch of stuff too fast, it would have been pretty overwhelming. So it was good to just gradually get more comfortable and take on more.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a nice pace as you were progressing in your role. I'm curious to know, have you done any work in other areas like reserving or valuation as well, or just mainly pricing?
All right, so at Guardian and most companies, there's a rotation program for the actuarial students. So while you're taking exams, well, again, Guardian's the only company I've worked at. So speaking from how it works at Guardian, generally you have rotations that last for 18 to 24 months. So my first rotation was in the valuation area.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was good experience. I don't remember much of what I worked on, but that's yeah, I definitely encourage besides the rotational program, if there's opportunities to get experience in different areas, to take advantage of that.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm gonna skip back to the questions on the top, which is talking more about undergrad and college experiences. So one of the questions that someone asked was, what majors should they be majoring in to fit into the field of actuarial science? So do you recommend people major specifically in actuarial science, or maybe a combination of other majors?
Also, one question: does Stony Brook offer actuarial science major?
No, we don't.
No. Okay, yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
back then either. So I think the closest thing is the applied math and statistics major.
Mm.
But like pure math should also be fine. Just kind of how I got into it when I always enjoyed math, so I knew I wanted to either it was between majoring in pure math or applied math, and as far as a career, wanted something pretty math heavy in a business setting. So yeah, I didn't even hear of the word actuary until I started college, and it's kind of just like offhand remark from a professor, like, "Oh, if you're good at math, you should be an actuary." It's like, okay, let me look up what that is. And but yeah, it seemed since Stony Brook didn't offer specific actuarial science major, I figured to go with applied math. And from what I remember, there was some good overlap between the AMS courses and the material for the exams. So it was kind of two birds with one stone.
Yeah. Did you personally take those courses that help prep for the exams, or did you self-study for the exams?
Uh, so I self-studied for all the multiple choice exams,
Okay.
and then for I think the first essay exam, I did go to a seminar.
Okay. That's good to know. Someone also asked, does having a master's degree mean having a higher chance of getting an actuarial job?
Um, I think maybe on the margins, but not really. Like the main thing is, so me personally, I didn't get a master's. I think most of the actuaries at Guardian have an undergrad degree, and the main thing is demonstrating you'll be able to pass all the actuarial exams. So I think over the years, as actuarial science has gotten more popular, like there are people at Guardian who do have masters in actuarial science, but again, I think maybe marginally it helped them get that position, but I don't think it's that big of a differentiator.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Brennan asks, if I'm already an AMS major, is there another major I should pursue in addition that would help increase my career odds? I know economics and comp sci are popular choices for a double major, but do they help when getting hired?
Yeah, so I double majored in AMS and economics, and I mean I think in general, yeah, like double major is probably good thing to have. But I'd say as far as like the second major being something math related is again probably not that important. Like in fact, it may even if you're have a major that's totally different, that could be something interesting to it shows you have like another experience that you could bring to the job. And I think in my situation, like, yeah, I like the idea of getting a double major, and there's a lot of overlap in the requirements for economics and AMS. So it seemed worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That one is definitely popular, AMS and economics. Okay. Um, I also wanted to ask, how was your transition from a university environment to the corporate environment? And what was your job search like, or your internship search like at Guardian?
Yeah. Um, so I guess for the transition, I think big thing was just the hours that uh, wake up and go to bed. So college, pretty much as long as you show up to your class, you have a lot of flexibility in sleeping. So whereas with full-time job in corporate environment, definitely had to adjust quickly to just going to bed earlier, waking up earlier. But besides that, I think I didn't going into the job, I didn't fully appreciate how interdependent everyone's work is. So college where, you're mostly, I'm sure there's some team projects, but you're mostly on your own, to and have responsibility for yourself. But it was interesting early on to see, like, okay, the stuff I'm working on, people are waiting on the results, and then they can't get started on their stuff until I'm done. So just appreciation for like how the work is connected to each other. And I think your second question was about how I went about searching for internships. So yeah, I guess two main things. One, it might have been the very first OAS meeting where we had someone from Guardian give a presentation on the actuarial profession. And it just so happened that someone who worked in the HR department at Guardian lived very close by to Stony Brook. So she wanted to, do some recruiting there. So yeah, I was at that meeting, and so applied for an internship through them. But also went to, I think it's called the annual job fair or annual career fair that's run by ASNI.
Mhm.
And I looked at the website. There's actually, that's taking place this Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay,
gonna
so
be
that's good to
there?
hear. Oh, what's that?
Are you going to be there?
No, but
Okay.
the Guardian will have representatives there. So yeah, I applied to some internships through ASNI, and so I ended up getting 3 interviews for internships. And but yeah, I had the best feeling about Guardian, so took their offer. And the other 2 didn't give me offers anyway. But
Yeah, ASNI is like the annual actuarial career fair, and it's happening on Sunday. So if you guys want to join, I believe there's a fee that you have to pay, but there's gonna be a lot of other companies there. I believe Guardian is gonna be there, New York Life, Willis Towers Watson, and like a few other companies. So if you're interested, I think that's a good way to like look for internships and jobs too.
yeah, and if anyone's interested in applying for internships at Guardian, I think probably makes most sense for maybe send them to you, Vivian, right? And
Yeah.
then you could send them to me, or actually I'll double check on who to submit them to, so I can we can work out the details on
Okay.
I'll make sure that they, anyone who wants to apply, that the resumes are submitted.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, we've also had, I think, Andy Gordon from Guardian come speak like a few years ago. And so we've always like had people from Guardian come speak.
Oh yeah, so Andy was my boss for about 12 years of my career, and I still work very closely with him.
Good to know. Okay. Another question that we got was, is it possible to get a full-time actuarial entry-level position without having a relative internship?
Oh yeah, it's possible. But I will say for Guardian, generally the entry level offers go to the prior year summer interns. But I guess other companies that may not have as strong of an intern program, I imagine would, be more opportunities to get a job through them.
Does Guardian hire outside of their intern pool?
Oh yeah, so there have been cases where we've hired entry level actuaries who weren't interns, but
Okay.
typically at the entry level, it's to interns. At the more mid levels, and then definitely like FSA and above, that it's common to hire from outside.
That's good to know. Ethan asks, how many actuarial exams should a student have passed by the time that they graduate?
Yeah, I'd say it at least one. Um, at least for a guardian, like that's a requirement that you have at least one exam passed. I believe I had 3 when I graduated, but it's anywhere between 1 and 3. So I think the main thing is, yeah, getting that first one done, and then you know, yeah, basically getting that first one out of the way.
Do you think it's better to have more exams passed?
Yeah, it's because typically companies, they want you to eventually become an FSA, because they're making an investment in providing study time. Generally, they pay for the exam fees and the study materials. So I think when they hire you, there's an expectation that you'll be able to get through all the exams. So the more you have up front shows you've demonstrated that you're able to pass them. So I mean, it's a good problem to have. I guess there is a question whether you have like too many exams up front, that you may price yourself out of the market, because there's if the entry level position is a certain amount of money, but if you already have I don't know, say 5 exams, then they may not want to pay you more than what they were planning for that position.
Okay, that's true. Victoria said, I feel like I don't have time to prepare for exams. Do you have any tips on like preparing for exams while still in school, or just like outside of school as well, like while you're working, and how you like balance that?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So I definitely had an easier time with the multiple choice exams. So I guess in terms of how I approached it, they were, I forget the name of the study manual I used, but it's like going through the study manual and then relying a lot on the old exams, and kind of grouping up the questions by topic, and then just like kind of going through them, getting really familiar with the way the questions are asked, and like getting a good mastery of the material. But in terms of time management, it's tough, because it does require a lot of study time. One thing that worked for me is actually logging the hours that you put in. So it helps as a discipline. So like if you say, okay, I want to put in 20 hours this week, just kind of forcing yourself, like, okay, I'll do 3 today, 2 tomorrow. But yeah, it's a sacrifice. It takes a lot of time to prepare for.
Yeah, definitely. I think coaching actuaries is really popular right now for like studying for the preliminary actuary exams. So if you guys are interested, you can look into that.
Yeah, the later exams, unless they changed it, had a lot of memorization. So
Yeah.
that was just painful. I had like a stack of flashcards, and it's kind of just brute force studying. You just like trying to get, push it into your brain. So again, that's just like just putting in the time to memorize a bunch of stuff.
David asks, what's the time frame they give you to study and take actuarial exams if you are at Guardian?
Yeah, I don't remember numbers.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. But did they expect actuaries to be like passing exams on a regular basis?
Yeah, so there are guidelines to remain in the student program. And I forget exactly what they are, but typically, I think if you like pass every other, you're still in compliance with the program. So, but there's like a few rules, and they do make exceptions sometimes. But yeah, there's a certain number of, you can't go too many sittings without passing an exam and still be compliant with the program.
Okay. So if you're not compliant with the program, could you still like be an actuary at Guardian, just not in the program?
Yeah, so we've had a few people who so I guess there's two situations. One, if they want to continue being actuaries, so if they're just struggling with the exams, but otherwise they're good at their jobs,
Mhm.
we've made exceptions where we'll give them like an extra sitting to try to pass. But then we do have people who started out in the student program and just decided, okay, I just can't deal with these exams anymore. I don't want to do it. And they've taken on other roles in the company. So not actuarial
Okay.
roles, but like, related roles.
Okay. Henry asks, do you know if there's any other actuarial career fairs at other times of the year?
Yeah, ASNI's the only one I know of.
Yeah, I think me too. That one is usually like every year around the fallish time. So, and David also asks, how well versed do you have to be in Excel or any other online applications when becoming an actuary?
Yeah, I think I'd say Excel is probably the big software that it's good if you like pretty good at it going in. But yeah, but like for me, I wasn't really good at any of the the softwares, and kind of just got learned quickly on the job. But I've seen over the years, like the interns and students are, pretty impressive, and definitely, um, you know, seem more qualified than I was when I started. But I'd say, yeah, if you had to focus on one software to be good at going in, I'd say it's Excel, because you're definitely going to use Excel early on.
Yeah.
As far as like computer programming languages, that's a plus, but you may not even use that language on the job. So I'd say Excel is the only, like, Excel and PowerPoint are the two softwares like you'll definitely use early on.
Okay. Is there anything particular that you think stands out on the resume specifically, such as like work experience or the number of exams, internships, anything like that? Or is it just like the combination of all of that?
Um, yeah, I'd say probably combination. Exams passed is important. If you have prior relevant experience, that helps. Like even like in my case, I was a teaching assistant at Stony Brook. I taught like I forgot a math class. It was like a very entry level early math class, and I worked I did some tutoring. So I think, yeah, any type of relevant experience that is either dealing with math or in the insurance industry, or that demonstrates like that you've had like communication skills, and then I guess like even like volunteer experience is good to show.
That's good to know. As an actuarial intern, do you remember what kind of challenges you faced when you first started in that role?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, thinking back, I didn't really have a good understanding of the big picture of the work I was doing. So I remember kind of just being insecure throughout my internship. Like, okay, I'm running something, or I'm doing what they tell me, but I didn't have a good sense of like how to tell if it was right or not, or what it was really for. So my advice would be to not be shy about asking your manager to explain the big picture to you, and just so one, just for general learning, but then if you understand better how your work fits in, just makes you more engaged, and then you could have a better sense of like how to review the results.
Do you remember what kind of work you did as an intern or like as an entry level position?
Um, yeah, so both my first rotation and the internship were in the evaluation areas. Um, so yeah, there's one project. So when I was entry level, I did a lot of quarterly reporting. So uh, which is typical at any company that has to report earnings, pretty much at any company. So on the quarters, it gets really busy because you have to generally do quarterly earnings. So there was some values that I provided, that a lot goes into it, and it's kind of funny, like getting a bunch of data, run all these models, and then it's really just to produce one number or two numbers at the end. So I got to do that process. If I was in that rotation, say a year and a half, so maybe like 6 times. So the first couple, didn't really know what I was doing. I had like direction, like step-by-step directions of like where to update the numbers and what buttons to press in a macro. So I did it, but didn't really understand what it was for. But by the end, I had a much deeper understanding of what the numbers are for, and made improvements to the process. Like I saw there was some ways to just streamline it better. So yeah, in hindsight, it was a good experience. Like I could tell from start to finish, I had a much better grasp of it.
Victoria asks, did you think that it was getting an actuarial job was very competitive? Or I guess getting an internship in your experience?
Yeah, it is pretty competitive. I'm not sure how many total applications we get, but I imagine it's a lot. And there's generally somewhere between 5 and 10 positions each summer.
And David asks, are a lot of what you use or memorize for the exams used during your job? And if so, are the concepts applied at your job usually easier than the ones on the exam?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So I'd say very little of what's on the exams is actually applicable to my day-to-day job. But I can't think of one instance where I've used calculus at work. So yeah, most of the material doesn't come into play, but there definitely is stuff that does. And but I think just even if you don't use that exact material on your job, just I guess it makes you think a certain way and like learn how to approach problem solving a certain way. So I like developing that skill of um, just figuring out how to approach problems. Like it's good for that, but unfortunately, yeah, the majority of the stuff on the exams, I just haven't had to use.
Okay. Did you just have to pass them just to like get your FSA?
Yep.
Okay. Another question we got was, what do you like most about your job?
Yeah, so I guess I find the projects I work on really interesting, and now at my level, like I'm involved in a lot more of the strategic decisions, which is pretty cool to actually kind of come up with my own suggestions and influence like how the company's going to operate in certain areas. So I think more like the business aspect of it, and understanding like what the decision making process is for some pretty big decisions, being part of that, and I think working with other people, whether it's the people on my team or working across teams, it's pretty cool to see how like one idea could trigger another idea, and as a group you get to a much better place than just one person trying to think of all the answers themselves.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you remember a particular project that you thought was interesting that you've done at Guardian? And could you like talk about that?
Oh, sure. So a really recent project that I worked on was the the entire industry got a bit of a surprise when there was a regulatory change that took place without much notice, and basically all whole life policies have to be um, like redeveloped in order to comply with this requirement by January 1st of 2022. And we just found out about it like end of last year. So, which might seem like a lot of time, but we had a lot of products, and there's just a lot that goes into it. So it was a super tight time frame. So I think what was nice about it is it was like just first it was really overwhelming. I was like, oh man, I got like I was responsible for the pricing of all the new products. So it's like, oh, we have no time to work on this. It's going to be really difficult. But once we kind of got started and settled in, the just the challenge of getting it done on time, and the kind of like the approval processes for stuff, and like how we make decisions sometimes can drag on. Like you have a meeting, you're hoping to decide something, but then you need a follow-up meeting or more analysis. But since the time frame was so tight, we didn't have that luxury. So in a way, it was good. We got decisions a lot quicker. And so yeah, and it was an interesting project. Because to give full background on what it was would be like 15 minutes. So I'm trying to just kind of give a high level summary. But when we develop a new whole life product, there's different levers you can pull in the pricing, like the premium level, how you'd anticipate paying out the dividends, so various things. So we we had certain ideas of what we wanted to do, and now that we're like kind of wrapping it all up, looking back, I'm pretty happy with where we landed and what we decided to do on those.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Someone else also asked, How was Guardian impacted by COVID, and how has Guardian adapted to that?
Yeah, so we had some interesting impacts. So I guess first the obvious one, as a life insurance company, we did pay out more claims due to COVID. But I guess as a portion of our total claims, it it was still manageable. So clearly it was more than we were predicting before COVID, but it's so maybe it was like in the neighborhood of 10% more claims. So it's not like it doubled or tripled the amount of claims we paid out. But so a few things that happened that were, I guess, wouldn't be obvious is when someone applies for a life insurance policy, we do what's called underwriting. So we collect a lot of their health information, and that requires usually drawing blood and other tests, and that we generally will send a paramed to the person's house to do these tests. But when COVID started, no one wanted a stranger coming to their house. So there was like a real concern, like, okay, how are we going to continue to sell new policies without underwriting? And technology has been moving so fast that there was already some stuff in the works for using other tools to do underwriting without actually having to draw blood from someone. So we kind of accelerated those other tools, and so even though we kind of like loosened up the requirements to get life insurance, we came out with rules pretty quickly where we could still get enough information to get comfortable and issue policies without someone having to come to your house and draw blood. So that was, and through that, we learned a lot, and a lot of the stuff that we implemented, we're going to continue even, now as things are getting better and even post COVID. And then another thing that happened was so maybe the first month or two, our sales took a hit just because everyone's dealing with this crazy situation. But I think what happened after that, our sales have gone up a lot. And I think that's because it just, COVID kind of put mortality on people's mind more. And there's an expression like life insurance isn't bought, it's sold. Because most people don't wake up and like, oh, today's a good day to buy some life insurance. It's kind of one of those things. Oh yeah, eventually I should get it, but no rush. But so I think it kind of motivate people like, okay, it's probably something I should do sooner rather than later. And then possibly the fact that it's easier to go through the process without having to give blood, maybe that made it easier too and got us more sales.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just curious to know, but what's your current return to work policy like?
Yeah, so right now we're it's still voluntary to come into the office. So our offices, they were closed up until maybe June or so. So now they're open on an optional basis. And then no one's going to be like required to come in until January. And at that point, it kind of varies by position. So some people are able to work from home as much as they want going forward. Other people who, I guess, based on their position, if they deemed it's important for them to be in the office, they're required to go in at least 3 days a week.
Do you think that there were any challenges like doing everything virtually, or was it just a pretty smooth transition?
It was actually a surprisingly smooth transition. We so going back a few years, when prior to Hurricane Sandy, very few people work from home, so it was just like all the work was done in the office. Then Hurricane Sandy happened. Our main office back in downtown New York actually got flooded, and like all the electrical was in the basement, so we didn't have an office to even go to. So they sent everyone laptops, and for a couple months or so, we were, everyone was virtual and continuing to work. So I think when the company, when management saw everyone was working fine, there was a lot more openness to working remotely. So more people started working from home. Like pretty much Fridays, hardly anyone was in the office. Everyone just picked Friday to work from home. So I think we were already used to, kind of a hybrid model, like some people in the office, some people working from home. So it wasn't like a total, 180, but yeah, moving to everyone being virtual, you definitely miss that, like, hallway conversations that would pop up, or
Yeah.
And also, it's nice to have meetings in person as opposed to, on the screens like we are. But no, I think given the circumstances, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it worked out.
And what's the situation at Stony Brook?
Where I think there's still some virtual, some in-person classes. So I think most people have like a mix of both. I don't know if anyone here is like completely online. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. Brennan asks, do you get a discount on life insurance for working at Guardian? Or if you know that like other types of insurance for other companies?
Yes, our Guardian does offer an employee discount for just for a whole life insurance. So it's up to a certain amount, and it's 20% discount off the premium, which is pretty good.
Okay, good to know. And then I guess my last question for you is, what skills do you think actuaries have that are transferable to other careers? And if you had to make a transition, what careers do you think you would be suited for?
Yeah, so I think, I guess it's kind of a general answer, but being an actuary, you have to have very strong technical skills, whether it's building a model, or understanding how to run it and make changes to it, how to analyze results. Yeah, being an actuary, like, just numbers all day, like just exhibits get emailed to you, and like some for pricing new products, some of the rate files are these huge Excel files, and so I think just work with numbers a lot, just getting a feel for what's important to focus on, and like how do you even evaluate an exhibit to see if it's reasonable, or what conclusions you can draw from it. So I think that's applicable to anything. So just basically, analyzing a lot of data, being able to draw conclusions from it, or developing the data yourself. And I'd say the communication aspect of the job is an important skill. So a lot of times it's difficult to describe, like what like what a certain result means, or like how this is developed. So like talking to a fellow actuary, you could almost talk in shorthand, like, oh yeah, made a change to this part of the model, and this is the result, and this is the impact it has. But then when you have to talk to non-actuaries or senior management, where they don't want to know all the details, they just want to know, like, okay, what's the three main takeaways from this? Kind of developing that skill of catering to your audience, to like, okay, if I'm talking to this person, this is the background they would have. Let me put into terms that are clear that they'd understand. But yeah, in terms of, I'm not really sure what other job I'd be able to do. I guess definitely, something in the, that's heavy in math in the business world, but not, yeah, I don't think I could do anything much different than what I've been working on.
That's fair. Okay. Brendan asks, as an industry professional, objectively speaking, do you think life insurance is a worthwhile purchase? Also, if you could go back and change something to do better, to change something to better your success along your current career path, what would it be? So the first question is, do you think life insurance is a worthwhile purchase?
Yeah, I think it is. So I think if clearly, like, if you have people who are depending on you, so if you have a family and you're the the sole or they're relying on you having a job and bringing in money to the family. I think that's really important that that they're protected in the event something happens. So, and I'd say even if you don't have families yet, just the locking in your insurability is really important. So, hopefully everyone stays healthy, but if you, God forbid, find out you have some bad disease 10 years from now, you're not gonna be able to get insurance then. So it's good if while you're young and healthy to lock that in. Another dimension of it is so like term insurance, it's strictly the insurance coverage. Like you pay pretty low premium for a set number of time to have life insurance. Whole life, you pay a much larger premium, but you develop a cash value in your policy that you could loan against, or if you ever surrender the policy, you get the cash. So a lot of people who buy whole life also buy it for that investment aspect. And it was like, for me personally, I kind of view it as like a safe investment, plus I need the insurance anyway. And then if I want to put other money in stuff more risky, like the stock market, it's a good like asset diversification.
That's good to know. The second part of the question was, if you could go back and change something to better your success along your career path, what would it be?
Oh, it's a good question. I think, so I guess two things come to mind. I'd recommend getting as much like public speaking experience as you can, even if might make you nervous or uncomfortable. The more you, as you grow in your career, you're gonna have to give more presentations, whether it's like in small groups at meetings or larger. So I'd say recently I've got a lot more experience public speaking, but I think earlier in my career, I had opportunities where I could volunteer to public speak. And I was like, nah, I don't want to. So I think maybe if I got more experience earlier on, that would have helped. And then I'm not sure if I'd change it, but I have been working in the pricing area most of my career. So even though I did have that one rotation evaluation, it might have been good to get a little more diversified experience. So yeah, that's again, like I've been happy the way my career has progressed. So I'm not sure I would change it, but one thing I look back on is like, because at a certain point, if you get too specialized, then like now if I want to do something different, maybe I could, but it would be tougher. Whereas early in the career, it would be easier to move around.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I guess related to that, if you could switch into a different sector, so like either health or Pmcu, like auto, homeowners, insurance, which one would you be most interested in?
Um, yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, maybe PNC, since it's just so much different.
Yeah.
But it's one thing I do like about life insurance that's different from most other types of insurance is just the long-term nature of it. So like auto, other PNC, health insurance, usually it's 1 year coverage periods and then it just renews. So whereas life insurance, we're setting guarantees that someone can, have for decades. So I think I find the long-term modeling aspect pretty interesting.
That's cool. Okay. Raf asks, what advice would you give someone who realized that they want to go into actuarial science like later into their college career? Just because it seems like you have to have like exams passed or like have to have an internship to apply to positions. So what kind of advice would you have for someone in that position?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing is, trying to get that first exam passed. So kind of just, committing to that. And because that's a big requirement for most companies. So that's probably the best thing you could do.
And then Philip asks, how did you determine what type of insurance you wanted to get into?
Yeah, so actually, yes, I remember when I got my full-time offer from Guardian, I had a choice between life insurance and dental insurance, because Guardian also sells some group products. And for terminology, individual insurance, like life insurance, is purchased by individuals, whereas group products are generally sold to employer groups. So like or our brokers will contact an employer and say like, oh, here's our suite of different plans you could offer to your employees, and then we sell it that way. So so you had a choice of dental insurance within the group side, or life insurance. And yeah, I think even back then I just thought the long-term aspect of life insurance that kind of appealed to me, as opposed to just annual pricing.
Well, that's all the questions I had for you. Does anyone else have any other questions that they want to ask? Okay. I also wanted to mention that Joe is the current president of OAS. So
Everyone, sorry I was late, but I was here and I saw most of the presentation. So thanks, Alex, for coming out. It was really nice to have you.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay. If no one else has any questions. Oh, Henry asks, how can we get in touch with you?
Oh yeah, you can, probably the best way is email, or if you want to add me on LinkedIn, yeah, that's another option. So yeah, my email address is just alex_Borress@glic.com, GLIC, which stands for Guardian Life Insurance Company.
I can put it in the chat.
But yeah, I'm happy if you have any questions. Yeah, feel free to send me an email.
I'm gonna just suggest Brennan to email you for his question, so that we can end it. But thank you everyone for joining tonight, and I hope you learned something from Alex. And thank you to Alex for coming to speak.
Thanks. Yeah, pleasure being with you to talk about the profession.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much.
If anyone else wants to submit their resume, please do so through the Google form. It's on the AMS committee website, so make sure to do that. And thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.